What's going on? I'm Kyle with Far-Flung Tin Can. We are so excited about all the plans we have for Far-Flung in 2025. But before we jump too far into 2025, let's take a look back on everything Far-Flung was able to do in 2024 with your help. In March, we went to the Arctic. It was not as cold as normal. It was about negative 20 degrees. And we were able to do an annual youth conference. This was our 6th time doing this youth conference in Barrow, Alaska with our partners, David and Tina Matthews. We went to a nursing home for the first time, sang worship songs, and then we were able to work with the government. They chartered us a plane to head about 70 miles north into the Arctic to a small town called Wainwright. In May, we had our annual Kids Day in Mozambique in the village of Gumbani. We had record attendance. 2,600 kids showed up from all over the village. We had inflatables and face paint and preaching the gospel to those that don't normally come to church. We had a team in June go to Thailand where we worked with Living Word Ministries International. They plant a church every month in remote villages. They've got orphanages. They have a coffee production. They work with widows. The team this year was able to deliver solar panels to a remote village that has no power. They were able to go into multiple orphanages and work with the kids and bring gifts. In July, we had another full team head back to Mozambique for our annual youth conference. Not only did we have a bigger youth conference this year, but we're seeing so much progression happening on this ministry with Celia Mendez. They keep building more and more chicken coops, which is feeding kids protein on a weekly basis. Also in July, we headed back to Ecuador to work with Panda Vida with Lali Mendoza. But this year was so special because we had a prayer summit at the equator. We had 28 churches from around Ecuador show up, pray for the nations, and many of them were called into ministry, into missions work there at that event. We also worked with the feeding ministry, Panda Vida. We always like doing a small building project to help the community outside of just feeding them. In August, we headed back to the Philippines, working with One Way Outreach. They have a desire to build a church on every island in the Philippines, which is 7,000 churches. That sounds like an impossible task, but they've already built over 1,000 churches. This trip always consists of going to a place where they're freshly evangelizing, and we get to sow seed into a place where we're just now reaching the gospel. We're helping One Way Outreach build 2 churches there in the Philippines, and we can't do these kind of projects without supporters like you. In September, we head back to the Amazon, 500 miles into the Amazon, in a 100-year record-breaking drought. The water levels were so low that we went through 11 boat motors. But the God was so good and so faithful that every time our boat broke down, someone would come and save us. Luck would have it, they were always non-Christians. And so as they saved us, they ended up receiving the gospel and they got saved. We had baptisms, we had amazing church services. And actually, as I speak right now, there's a team on the ground sailing 500 miles to this village to dig a freshwater well. And in October, we headed back to the floating islands of Peru. We finally got to see the floating church that we have built. This is the first church that this community has had in 4,000 years. We went home to home. Many people who had never heard the gospel accepted Christ right then and there, just in the middle of a field. And then we went up to the highest city on earth, La Rinconada, where we preached the gospel. Hundreds were prayed for, salvations, healings, amazing works just in the middle of the city square. And then the team decided to hike up above the city to 17,322 feet, up to a pagan altar. People go up there out of desperation and drink alcohol and give sacrifice to this pagan altar. We decided what better place to record a worship album than sitting on a pagan altar over a city full of crime and sin. In November, I headed back to Mozambique just for 2 days, but a very important 2 days as they dedicated a brand new church. After 3 years of construction, the new church is built and it is so beautiful and it is already filling up. But this is just such a special and historic day for the work there in Mozambique. So that wraps up all of our travel for 2024, but that's not all the work that we do. There's so many projects that we support monthly, whether it's medical care, feeding projects, education, and all these different locations. And because of your support, we're able to not just do one-off big special projects, but to be able to help sustain the projects on the ground on a month-to-month basis. We are so happy with what the Lord did in 2024, and there's so much going on in 2025. Thank you so much for your support in 2024. We are so excited and running into 2025. We'll see you soon.